Today I want to talk about Tre Bradford, who has committed to transfer and is enrolled at the University of Oklahoma and is filling a much needed role. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about Tre Bradford, aka Tre Bradford, who has enrolled at Oklahoma for the summer session and is going to play football at Oklahoma. This is tremendous news because there had been about a month-long rumor of a tailback that had transferred to OU, and this mystery back was one in which I'd been asked about infrequently from time to time. And now that it is broken news and it's out there, I feel like we can talk about it because Tre Bradford is absolutely a dude. And now he transfers in from LSU, which is big news because LSU has now had two tailbacks go into the transfer portal. One, Chris Curry, came out at Utah, and of course, Bradford comes out at Oklahoma, and he joins another volunteer transfer. Love that dad joke. And Eric Gray in the backfield. So now you have Kennedy Brooks, Eric Gray, Marcus Major, and Tre Bradford in the backfield. And this also is a huge win for DeMarco Murray, who had struck out on Kamara Wheaton, who ends up calling up Alabama, saying, I want to come, them saying yes. And the previous year, Oklahoma losing out on the Jace McClellan sweepstakes. That's two Alabama tailbacks that had long been dudes that we thought were going to go to Oklahoma. And then Ramondre Stevenson decides to go into the NFL draft rather than take the free year of eligibility at OU. So you need some tailbacks, especially after Seth McGowan gets himself into trouble and gets booted from the football team. Now, this is interesting because Tre Bradford got into a little bit of trouble, and this was at LSU, where in December he was detained for shoplifting. And I'm assuming in this case, Oklahoma does its due diligence and they find out what they need and what they don't need. And it's on Lincoln Riley and his staff to do that. So if they make a decision, I'm assuming that they're making that decision for the best benefit of the team and for the players involved as well. So I don't have any reservations about Tre Bradford at Oklahoma, but I did want to address it because it was the thing that was coming up. So I don't think it's that big a deal, quite honestly. And at LSU, he went through some injuries, right? He got injured against Ole Miss, got injured, but against Ole Miss, still went for 53 yards on 9 rush attempts and seemed like he was coming into his own. In 2020, he had just 10 rushes, but he went for 58 yards with 3 receptions for 13 yards. So he's good when you get him the ball, but he hasn't got the ball because, it's a deep backfield at LSU. As a matter of fact, I think the way to look at this is what he was doing at Lancaster coming out of high school. 6 foot, 190 pounds. That's a sturdy back who was a 4-star prospect and a top 20 prospect in the state. He was the number 13 tailback in the country in the 2020 class and was the number 19 tailback in Texas, according to another recruiting network. Now, as a senior at Lancaster, he averaged 9.2 yards per carry, 1,563 yards, 23 touchdowns, 12 passes caught for 242 yards, not touchdowns, and 3 touchdowns. So the man is a walking first down in high school, but I love the quote that Lancaster coach Chris Gilbert gave Texas scorecard in 2019 going into his senior year. If you give him an ounce of daylight, he's going to find it. He's got really good vision. Probably the best thing about him is that he gets up to top end speed in a hurry. After one cut, he can be at top end speed. He chose LSU over Texas, Oklahoma State, USC, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Arkansas, Baylor, Kansas State, so forth, so on. So this is a dude. He's got tremendous potential. He's got a lot of years left to play football, and he can be the kind of guy that you can build around in the future going forward, and that's what you needed more than anything else. You need a guy that can be here for 3 years as opposed to a dude that can just help you for a year and leave. Like, I look at Eric Gray, and I see a guy that could end up in the first round of the NFL draft even going into next year. I look at Tre Bradford and I see, okay, that's a guy that you can build around, especially as you're recruiting to this 2022 class and even to the 2023 class, right? Because Oklahoma could be right back in the mix for a 2023 tailback, 5-star, top 25 player in Reuben Owens after he announced he's decommitting from Texas earlier this morning. And then you get the news of Bradford having enrolled at Oklahoma today. I choose not to believe those things are coincidental, but, we'll see how it goes in that. I also think that this is tremendous for DeMarco Murray on the trail, because now he feels a little less pressure in going to get another tailback, because last year the thought was Oklahoma needed to get a single tailback, and they struck out on that single tailback, only to come out with Eric Gray and now Tre Bradford after losing Seth McGowan. And now I'm really interested to see what happens at the receiver position, if that's something that they decide to do, though it is tremendously deep, because you also lose Trajan Bridges, but you brought in Key Lawrence, a safety prospect who I think could be big for them in 2022, along with Wanye Morris on the offensive line. We'll see what that looks like for him. And, of course, Eric Gray is the impact player, according to The Athletic, their number one overall impact player coming out of the transfer portal. Also gives me an opportunity to tell you that on Monday, have a tremendous conversation with Bruce Feldman about the breakout player other coaches think is on OU's team, the breakout player other coaches think is on Jackson Smith and Jigba's team. We also talk to some of the guys on those staffs, by the way, to just check himself out. It's a really good article that he wrote about the 35 breakout players for 2021. We get an early look at his freak list, which is an absolute must read every single year for college football fans, and one of my favorites. We talk a little bit about Ed Orgeron and his recruiting, specifically around Joe Burrow, and we even get into some name, image, and likeness stuff. So that's going to be a tremendously cool episode and interview coming up for you on Monday. As for Oklahoma, it's a Mercedes, right? It's a Red Bull racing car. It is a McLaren. Like, at this point, it's about how fast can it go, and is it going to stay in the race, right? Because the thing that you worry about with F1 teams is, can they finish the race, right? And that's not a guarantee. Oklahoma's got Spencer Rattler at tailback, these three running backs, and Eric Gray, Kennedy Brooks, and now Tre Bradford to go along with Marcus Major, Marvin Mims on one side, Mario Williams on another side, Theo Weiss over there, Jaden Hazelwood over there, Drake Stoops is on scholarship. You got dudes, and now you got a defense that you can depend on and has enough depth to make up for whatever injuries you might suffer early on in the season. All right, that is it for me. Deuces.